Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Genpact's webinar. It is an immense pleasure for me to welcome you all to Genpact's Dare in Reality Challenge. What is this Dare in Reality Challenge? This is the question I frequently get on my chat window from all the users. And today's webinar will provide you all a much more insightful information on this. As you all know, Dare in Reality Challenge is a kind of open innovation program, an opportunity for startups, students, and digital enthusiasts to come up with disruptive solutions to common global business challenges using new and emerging technologies in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Working on a real-time problem for an industry or customer is always a big opportunity for everyone. And possibility of partnering with Genpact to address this challenge and working closely with Genpact's practitioners in each domain would be an exciting engagement to explore. So today's webinar will be a big opportunity for all of us to seek clarifications around the specific use cases. And the agenda for today's webinar will be, so can we see the agenda, please? To start with, we are going to have an introduction, which I've already given. And can we have the agenda slide, please? And we'll get to know about the Genpact. We are going to meet the team. And so we are going to get some more insightful information on what is Dare in Reality Challenge, the individual challenges, and the mentors. And towards the end, we are going to have the question and answer sessions for the audience, and we will be also providing you the information what will be the next steps. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce Miss Dimple Aurora. Dimple Aurora is the Chief of Operations for Genpact Digital. She is helping drive our company-wide transformation to establish Genpact as a leader in digital services, helping scale the business through industrialized processes and operating frameworks. Welcome, Dimple.
Hi, thank you so much. Thanks, Vijayta. Thanks for handing over. Welcome everybody to this webinar, and thank you for joining us. As Vijayta mentioned, my name is Dimple. I want to remind you quickly that anytime through our webinar, through this conversation, we kept you all on mute just to avoid any background disturbance. Feel free to share any questions that come to your mind on the chat window, and they'll be routed back to us so we can answer them either during the webinar or at the end. All right, so that said, I want to jump into the real conversation today, and that is about what are we here for, what's this Dare in Reality Challenge. I hope you guys have had a chance to go through some of the detail already. But I wanted to take a step back, and for those of you that may not be familiar with where Genpact is at today and what we do, just give you a bit of context on who we are and what we do here, right? So Genpact is a well-known brand in the Indian ecosystem for sure. We are a global business process management firm. We work with the top Fortune 500 companies in the world, helping them transform their middle office and back office processes. A lot of which, for example, in the finance and accounting area, or it be in the banking and capital markets area, insurance and claims, etc. We do so with a very strong mix of our legacy of process and domain expertise in having run such processes for our customers for quite a few years now. And also, as we are seeing our customers face the digital disruption onslaught, which is around there for the whole world out there, we are actually now we've set our eyes on becoming the digital transformation partners for these customers and for these Fortune 500 companies. This is a little bit of the evolution that we are seeing both our customers go through, and clearly we are going through ourselves. It's true of the entire industry at large. We're happy to state that we are very firmly entrenched in this strategy and in this way forward of using digital transformation and delivering real impact for our customers as we speak. And so if I walk you through the journey that Genpact has been on, and focus on the bottom half of that slide, or the bottommost row, we'll share this content with you so you'll have the detail. But if I was to summarize the journey that we ourselves have been on for our customers, Really what it looks like is that when we first started as a company, we started as a BPO or a BPM company, and very quickly we established industry leadership in that domain. And we were known as the top 1 or 2 player in all the areas that we've been working on. But as we evolved, we went from being simply a BPO or a BPM partner to being a partner that delivers intelligent operations. And what we meant by that is that we actually look at processes, mid office and back office processes, and then started embedding digital or started embedding technology solutions that helped those processes become much more intelligent. But even further to that, the third phase as we went through was not just to embed digital in everything we do or embed analytics in everything we do, but actually make digital the core of what we did for our customers. So today we're at the stage where digital transformation is the core of the conversation that we're having with our customers. Digital transformation is at the core of the roadmap, of the blueprint of the work that we're taking on with customers. And in doing so, what we're driving at is real impacting solutions, real complex solutions, a platform, an AI powered platform that we're building out, which can help in modular, um, uh, in ways that actually help our customers be able to prevent erosion of their legacy system investments, but at the same time take on digital technologies and cutting edge technologies that will take them forward. So if you see, we've gone from being a BPM partner to actually being a digital transformation partner. And clearly we've set our eyes on becoming an AI-led partner for our customers. And we believe that AI will be the future of how we transform business processes, just as much as AI is transforming many other processes around the world. Now, having set our eyes on that, if that be our true north going forward, I want to talk to you a little about what's the team that is coming together to do this, and therefore also some of the team players that you will get to meet or work with that are actually delivering these real impacting solutions today. And so in the center of the chart, you'll see very conveniently my name, which is Dimple, but on my left on the chart, you'll see a name called Shubho Ghosh. Shubho is our leader of engineering at Genpact, and he is leading our vision on the Cora platform that we're building out, an AI-powered platform. He's got deep expertise in building up scalable enterprise platforms. He's done the same many times over, I think at Flipkart and PayPal before he joined Genpact, and brings to this team really hardcore expertise in building enterprise-grade platforms. And he will be with you on this journey as we begin talking to you a little bit more about the challenges, about the issues that we will solve together. But he's a key sponsor and a partner in crime with us today in bringing some of these challenges to you. On my right, you will see the picture of Bhavani. He's also on the call today, and we'll get a chance to speak to you in a little while. Bhavani is our chief architect for products and solutions at Genpact. He oversees the design of the enterprise architecture for some of our marquee customers, marquee engagements, and actually, if I may say, for some of our most complex engagements. So he's our chief architect and resident enterprise architect. And there's these are a few names that you will get a chance to meet and be mentored by, or be coached by, or be helped along your journey as you try to solve some of these challenges for us. But really they're representative of a very large organization, of a team that we've built together, of very talented young people that are trying to solve some of the more complex problems for our customers. So some of these mentors are on the call today. I think Isha, Tanmay might be on the call. Suresh, Manish, Samarjeet, some of you may know them from the industry. I know Bangalore especially is a small world. Some of you guys may have hopped out with them in the past. But just to let you know, that's the kind of team that's behind some of the work that we at Genpact are doing and are bringing to you, being able to solve together with your help some of the more complex problems we are coming across. And that brings us to the question of really why, right? Why do we all do this, and why are we all here? Look, I want to walk you through what we believe is at the core of what makes digital in Genpact real and what gives us the kick right? Some of us working on these problem statements are really deriving the kick out of three things. One, we believe we've been able to establish at Genpact a very curious and very startup-ish kind of culture, which, while Genpact being a large mothership of more than 90,000 employees, here's a small group that's really steering that big ship forward and bringing through disruptive thinking, innovative thinking, curiosity that is enabling some of the more disruptive thinking that we take to our customers. And so we work in an environment that's really agile. We work in an environment that gives us a seat at the table. It's an environment where all ideas are considered good, and not invented here syndrome simply doesn't work. We also thrive on working in an environment where we work shoulder to shoulder with process and subject matter experts. So not only do we talk technology, but we ground technology with the real world process and knowledge of the domain that brings that technology to becoming really powerful in solving the real problem at hand. So domain is something that has always been a strength at Genpact. You know, the specific knowledge of specific processes in a specific industry and how that plays out. Therefore, how do you bring technology to solve that specific problem? That's the power that we get from rubbing shoulders with the domain experts who sit by the side of our digital experts in driving these solutions. And then, of course, I think the kick comes out of the fact that we solve for some of the more complex challenges that top Fortune 500 companies are facing today. Sometimes we forget the power of doing that, right? Because when we build solutions, those solutions are replicable and they impact multiple thousands, millions of transactions. So it's not small stakes, big stakes, it's big processes and it's real world impact. And I think that's what keeps this team going. And also the reason why we bring this challenge to you, because our rallying cry is dream in digital, dare in reality. Yeah? We dream these solutions in this very startup-ish, innovative kind of way, but we ground them in the reality because we bring domain to the fore. And so we ground them and actually dare to take the solutions to really large problems. And so the challenge for you, do you dare in reality? We all know most likely you all dream in digital, but do you have what it takes to take some of our issues, our challenges, our customers' problems, and then deploy the best of your thinking and the best of your questioning to bring out the best of solutions? And so if you are a startup, here's what's in it for you. You will get to work with some of the top challenges the industry faces today, but at the same time, if you have a solution that you already have in mind or you've already been working on and it fits our challenge, you now have the chance to test it out, validate it, and then refine it through iterative cycles with our bench of experts, right? So we offer you a conversation that helps you to refine your solution, and we offer you a conversation where potentially tomorrow we could be partners in an ecosystem that are working together to solve our challenges. If you're an individual professional developer, likewise, you get to show your prowess in digital, but at the same time, you get to hone your ideas, your solutions, and your thinking on technology and how it applies to real world issues and challenges. And if you're a student, for sure, we're looking to have young millennials, young digital experts like yourselves, helping us shape our solutions as also coming and joining our workforce in either case. Last and definitely not the least, these challenges carry individual awards. And as you get deeper into the program, you'll see what those are about, but quite a lot of fun stuff to learn and quite a lot of fun money to be earned as well. With that, I want to hand over to Bhavani, who will talk you through a little bit more in detail about what we actually do in digital and therefore what are the challenges that we're opening up to you guys.
Thank you very much, Dimple. Thanks for the handoff. And once again, a warm welcome to all the potential participants of this particular challenge. I'm extremely glad to kind of be here with you guys and kind of talk you through, what we are offering as challenges in a little more detail. But what we'll do is, before we get there, we'll just give you a sense of the digital business platform, which Dimple talked about a little earlier, how we are trying to put it together, what kind of solutions we are actually building to clients using it. And after that, we'll kind of take a look at, what those challenges are, and then we'll talk a little bit about the timelines. Okay. So Genpact has a flagship platform, which we call as Cora, right? CORA. And this particular platform is primarily a set of curated technologies, a set of acquisitions, a set of frameworks, and a whole lot of other things, which we sort of bring together to really build solutions for our clients. Very unique solutions. You can think of it as ERP++, or let's say areas where certain aspects of operation solutions available in the market are not really out there to kind of solve the customer issues with the level of intelligence you would expect, given that our foray has been in the area of infusing AI and ML in almost everything we build, right? So coming back to the platform, what you're seeing there in the diagram, right? So you will basically see three pies if you look at the diagram carefully. So there is one, which is automation. There is second, which is analytics, which is right outside the circle of customer experience. And the third one is artificial intelligence. So just to give you a sense of why we have these three pies, and how does our digital platform actually comprise of all the components under these areas, I'll give you a sense of that. So when we start looking at the industry today, I'm sure many of you would have heard about bots, would have heard about robotics, and all of that being used to kind of, let us say, to an extent, augment human labor in terms of getting some of the processes done, right? So automation is an area where we look at all of these sort of components which help us provide that hybrid workforce to the clients, right? The front door, which is an area where you would typically see all the systems of engagement actually coming together. Now, this sort of front door piece as a part of the pie is actually supported by two core areas again. One of them obviously is analytics, and the second one is artificial intelligence. And to talk a little more about these areas as a part of our core platform, so analytics, as you can imagine, is a set of components, a set of frameworks, some of our own IP, a whole bunch of products, etc., which actually help in solving clients' problems or building core frameworks to, let us say, provide machine learning algorithms for use in applications, for dealing with big data, for ensuring that data and governance and all of these areas are taken care of. Plus, the customers do have areas or capabilities where they can experiment with hypotheses and the data and build more intelligent systems. So the whole area of analytics actually deals with that. As far as AI is concerned, it's a bunch of cognitive services which we leverage to provide human faculties to our solutions. So that's what is the AI piece on the previous diagram. Now, talking about leverage that particular platform to solve client problems, to the point which Dimple was on. So we basically approach most of our client problems with a good combination of our knowledge, our deep experience we have in the domain. And then this digital platform is actually the conduit which we use to kind of provide these solutions to clients. So some of the problems that you've been solving in the market, one of them is in the area of pharmacovigilance, where we help pharma companies actually ensure that their drugs are more effective in the market. So we basically look at solutions where we can trace how the drugs are getting used and what kind of adverse reactions they might have and how we can make medicines better and all that. So that's one of the problems we've been solving. We've been also solving the retail industry and the CPG industry with better supply chain management. We have put technologies together where edge devices, that is your pieces which deal with Internet of Things, you can talk about IoT frameworks, etc. All of that coming together to ensure that the supplier to customer chain is not broken in many different ways, and they are made more efficient. I'm not sure how many of you have sort of looked at Formula One racing using electric cars, but the Envision Virgin Racing contest is actually a contest for Formula One racing using all electric engines. And we've been working with teams here. In fact, we helped one other teams actually win the contest with all the analytics we supported it with. And as you can imagine, working with an electronic vehicle, looking at the power surge ratios, looking at the terrain and all the calculations which actually go behind optimally using the power available in the batteries to kind of win the race is something which we solved as a part of this particular opportunity market. And last but not the least, what use is insights if you don't present it well, right? So we do have systems which actually present insights in many different ways so that they can be palatable and consumable to most of our consumers, which are on the client side. So that's sort of how we put these things together. Now let's go through the challenges one by one. So there are 4 of them which we are going to put out there and correlated to the areas I just spoke about. So the first challenge actually is to the point I made earlier. As many know, most of the pharmaceutical companies have very stringent cycles of drug releases and all of that, and they kind of really manage and monitor the way the drugs get used, how their effects happen on different stratas of society, different, let us say, countries, people of different genetic origins, and so on and so forth. And many a times you would potentially see that drugs are not, I would say, reacting the same across the geodiversity we might have, or the DNA diversity we might have amongst people, due to various reasons. Now, what typically happens is when drugs are not doing their job, if I can use the simplest phrase there, you get something called as adverse drug reactions, which are basically wrong reactions to drugs which you don't expect. And what we are looking at as far as this challenge is concerned is primarily figuring out, what are the signals you're getting around bad drug reactions on social media. How do you kind of build out, disease trends and the associativeness of that to these kind of drug reactions? So primarily, why is somebody taking a particular drug? What is the disease spike which is happening in that particular area? And why is it going wrong, right? So that is sort of the challenge which we are looking at here. And mind you, most of these challenges are primarily going to be gauged on how you come up with your constructs for business value, what does the design and architecture look like, and what kind of real disruptive innovations you would bring in to kind of really, let us say, give bleeding edge technologies to the market. So that's the first challenge for you. We'll take more questions as we towards the end of the session, so we can probably dig into the details there, but I'll breeze through these challenges quickly so that you have a sense of what those are. The second challenge primarily is an interesting one. Now, as many of you know who probably worked on software, you would always want to know what is the before and after when you, let us say, build a new version of code, right? Now, that could be in the area of user interfaces, that could be in the area of APIs, it could be in the area of machine learning models, and so on and so forth. So this whole aspect of figuring out what is better or what is bad from the previous version to the current version is a concept which is called as A/B testing, which probably many of you know. So what we are looking at is primarily a unified sort of a framework which can help you do this kind of testing across at least 3 areas. So one is UI, second is APIs, and the third one is APIs actually which are hosting machine learning or AI models. Now, mind you, in the industry, there have been many different frameworks which have been available. They have all been disparate and non-integrated. So we're looking at some of you trying to solve this problem and come up with a solution which can tackle all of these things together. And further, what we're also looking at is what kind of analytics you can provide in terms of sensing what was there before, what have been the reactions to that, in terms of, let us say, responses to the user interfaces or performances of the UI and so on and so forth, and then providing all good metrics so that we can figure out whether the new version is worth releasing to the market, yes or no. So that's what we are looking at as far as the second challenge is concerned. The third challenge is also an interesting one. Now, this basically deals with almost everything about data. Now, as many of you know, when you are, let us say, doing analytics, you will bring data from multiple different systems. You will try to put formulas on them. You will try to aggregate them. You'll try to average them. You'll try to do a lot of, I would say, jugglery with that data to kind of really provide some of the insights, right? Now, bad data is equal to bad insights, I think, which many of you already know. So what we are looking at as far as this particular challenge is concerned is how can you solve this problem of really going into the source systems, trying to profile that data, and then figuring out, what are the anomalies which exist in that data for use in certain types of analytics, and whether there are certain things which can be recommended by the system you build, which can tell you what to do with that data to make it better so that it can serve better analytics. That is the third challenge for you. And the fourth one primarily is also another interesting piece, which goes into the area of machine vision. So as you know, most of the cognitive APIs which different companies are building today, they are all about putting human faculties into computers. And one of those human faculties is the intelligence we have in our eyesight, which is our vision. So we essentially use systems which can use some of those faculty traits in recognizing what is there in pictures, in PDF documents which might be scanned and so on and so forth, get data from there, make sense out of it, and then put that into operational systems. So this whole area essentially is called as OCR, or optical character recognition, as many of you know. And if you've been through systems which actually do optical character recognition, you essentially would have probably seen the amount of errors which many of these systems have to deal with the moment it sees something which is unknown, or the moment the system sees something which is not trained for. So what we are looking at as far as this particular challenge is concerned is, while those challenges do exist, we are looking at a group of you building out solutions which can reduce the amount of human intervention which is required when something is recognized by a system like this, right? So that is sort of the challenge out here. And what we're looking at is, basically you're using Tesseract as one of the core components and trying to build a solution, an OCR solution, which can be really adaptive to figure out, which figures out on its own different formats, different objects, its data elements, and so on and so forth, and provide the objects for the consumption. So that's the fourth challenge for you. So this is basically a synopsis of all of the challenges we have on the table. And now quickly to kind of look at, what we are looking at in terms of timelines. So we kind of launched the challenge over the past few days, before Independence Day. And what we're looking at is you working through your ideas, your solutions, and providing us with a few artifacts around it. Within about a 4-week time frame. So we're looking at the time frame of August to September for us to kind of really get a sense of what is the solution you're trying to build. And what we will be doing is, towards the 3rd week of September, we will essentially be shortlisting some of these ideas presented to us. And then the next sequence of events would be is that those shortlisted ideas and the groups will then essentially get into the build of the solution, prototypes, and whatever else you would want to showcase as a part of solving the challenge, essentially. And what we will be doing after that, obviously, is looking at shortlisting the winners, which will essentially happen sometime in the middle of October. And towards the end of October, we will actually have an event which will kind of provide you a podium to give your final demos, and we will announce the winners, and that's how the flow is going to look like for this. Okay, so that said, what we can do now here is I will hand it back to Vijayta, who is the host, and we will see what questions you have and what help we can give you on the challenges within the time frame of this particular meeting.
Sure, Bhavani, thank you. Thank you, Bhavani. So, Bhavani, moving on to the questions that we are receiving from all the participants of today's webinar. So, I think there are a couple of Genpact employees as well, and they want to know if they are allowed to participate in this particular program.
The Genpact employees are not allowed to participate in this program. Sorry about that, because this particular program is only open to non-Genpact employees. So any of the Genpact employees or its affiliates cannot participate in this particular program.
Okay, and coming back to so I'm asking this question from the students' point of view. So do you have any a kind of suggestion or a tip for any students to keep in mind while building the solutions for it? Any particular language or the programming language you want them to use to get better results?
That's a fairly broad question. Now it depends on which challenge and which area of the problem you're trying to solve. But my advice here is that first understand the problem, right? And then analyze, I would say, the and the languages which apply, in terms of solving the problem, because here speed is of an essence. So we don't have any particular saying that, hey, go and solve this problem only in Java or go and solve this problem only in Python, etc. I think the choice is entirely yours. So like I said, as long as the solution has, edges in all the three areas we are looking at, primarily in terms of its architecture, its business value, and its innovation in being disruptive, I think as long as those key criteria are met, I think we should be fine.
Okay, thank you, Bhavani. And so one more question is who will own the IP? So whenever you get the solutions, and how do you evaluate the IP, on what basis?
That's a legal question. I'm not officially supposed to answer it, but there will be, I think, a set of terms and conditions which you can go through when you sign up for a particular challenge. But the short answer to the question is that the IP, till the time the solution is built, will be with the folks who are building the solution. But there is a caveat there that Genpact has the first right of refusal. So what that essentially means is that if you want to take this IP and sell it to somebody, then the first set of consultations will happen with us. And if we kind of do not want to kind of, let's say, pick the IP or buy it or do something, then it will be up to the solution developers to kind of do whatever they want with the IP. Now, mind you that this is not legal language. The legal language is actually written in the terms and conditions, which you will see when you sign up. But this is the gist of it.
Okay. So Mr. Sanket is telling that he's currently pursuing MBA and have previously worked in the IT domain as well. So being a business student, his question is regarding the challenges. So are these challenges based on providing hardcore technical solution, like involves coding, or do you expect generic business solutions?
Yeah, I think the solution, like I said, they will be basically measured on three parameters, right? So the first one obviously is, how good is the sort of area of domain and the edge you're bringing as far as that particular solution is concerned, right? The second is obviously the strength it has in its architecture. And the fourth area, obviously, innovation quotient, or what kind of disruption you bring to the table. So what my recommendation would be is that if you're somebody who just wants to focus on the business side of it, you can certainly kind of look out for other people to participate who might be on this meeting if you want to focus only on that area. But the short answer to your question is that we are looking at a solution which is end-to-end, which has domain knowledge in it, plus code, of course.
Yeah, so maybe, if he is having a generic business idea, he can choose some core technical guys as his team members and develop the solution around it, and then he can, submit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is what it is all about, right? And like Dimple mentioned, see the three categories of groups whom we are appealing to out here to build out the solutions for the challenges we put up are primarily startups, whom we would like to work with as partners potentially in the future. Second is a group of professionals who would want to get together, as a team, maybe from different walks of life, right? Get together and build a solution, perfectly fine, right? And if it's a group of students who want to kind of try their hands at, taking a crack at these challenges, sure, why not? And if it's a combination of both, yeah, I think we're still okay. Yeah. When I say combination of both, if it is professionals plus students, I'm saying.
Yeah. So moving on to the next question. So what are the acceptable social media sources for pharmacovigilance challenge with respect to research and solution ideation?
Fantastic question. I'm not sure who asked this, but a fantastic question. So as far as social media is concerned, I'm 100% sure that some of you would know that you will have challenges in sourcing, a whole lot of social media to kind of make your algorithms, pretty stringent, the way I would look at it. But the net guidance here around using social media primarily would be is you could essentially look at blogs, maybe certain sample Twitter feeds and so on and so forth. And what you essentially would want to do is when you're picking the social media to do any of your work, just ensure that you have the rights to use it, because we will not have, from the Genpact side or the organizer side, we will not be providing any rights for you to source any social media. It's completely your lookout. Now, the other way to look at it is that, yes, you can build a solution based on what is legally and legitimately available. And if that solution has promise, send its extensibility into, let us say, using large amounts of social media to kind of do your analytics and all that is something which we can potentially evaluate. But the short answer to that question again is use what you can legally use. It need not, be the whole 9 yards. As long as the solution holds promise, I think we should be fine.
Okay, so we have one more participant, Mr. Sakshan. He wants to talk to you. Sakshan?
Hi, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, my first question was again the social media thing about the various sources. Now, so regarding the pharmacovigilance, right? Do you think that social media is the best data source that you want to use to have? Because we have Twitter data, right? But does Twitter data really reflect the sentiment of the users that you're trying to mine data from? Because uh, I tried analyzing PubMed data, right? So PubMed has this Twitter where they post about whatever solutions or whatever upcoming solutions there are in the pharma world, right?
Right.
So do you think that? But again, that is something that isn't offered. That Twitter feed isn't offered for every product for every company, right?
Yeah. So Saksham, in the interest of time, let's probably cut the chase here, and I'll give you some guidance on that, right?
Yeah.
So first things first about sources, right? So when we look at the pharmacovigilance area, you could assume that most of these companies have connects or endpoints where the clients can report some drug reactions over email, right? So as far as Genpact is concerned, we potentially have that problem, right? The second area which you may want to probably understand is that there are a lot of these medical journals and other citations, etc., where certain things about are reported. So we are kind of covered in that area as well. So what we are specifically looking at, from a problem statement standpoint, is social media being a source for two things. Number one is from the social media, what can you find out about disease trends, right? Second, if there are particular disease trends, how are they correlated to, let us say, certain set of medications which folks are taking, right? And the third thing is that, okay, there are a set of disease trends in a particular geo with a particular genetic background. These are the drug reactions which are coming in, and why are they coming in, and are they adverse, right? And we're specifically, interested in looking at adverse drug reactions. I know that there is very, very weak signals which appear in social media for these adverse drug events. But yeah, it's up to you first to find out, what are those sources. Obviously, we'll not tell you all of that, but find out what are the sources. I think you're on the right path here, but there is more. There's stuff beyond Twitter and social media, right? So that's the area we would want you to look at. It could be simple things like, chatter or comments, which are probably coming in on a YouTube video, right? It could be scenarios where somebody has probably written a blog about their experience, on a holiday, and they taking, a particular drug in a particular region, and they're probably not reacting with them properly. So those are the things you would want to look for. Yeah.
Great. So, Bhavani, is there any particular structure that you are, looking the submissions?
As far as the submissions are concerned, I think the details have been provided on the website to a large extent, but here is what I would recommend you do for the first round. I think the first thing is, what is also important is to ensure that you give a good functional overview of what your solution is, which is extremely important. Second is, if you have some slides, etc., which you can cover, for showing up what your architecture looks like and all of that, I think that would be very welcome, and probably the most important piece in the whole gamut of things. Third thing is, draw focus on, let's say, what is the thing which you're doing differently? That is, what are the novelties you are bringing to the table vis-a-vis maybe some other solutions which exist in the market? So these would be the three key areas. Now you want to support that with, let's say, maybe some mock-ups or some wireframes, or even some simple other animation you would want to draw up. I think all those are fine. But like I said, I think a functional overview, a tech overview, and what are your key differentiators would be key. But you can support that with artifacts you would like for the first round.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. So for the OCR subsystem, is it necessary to work with the Tesseract, as Tesseract has its own limitations?
All solutions do, right? All solutions have their own limitations. So there's a specific reason why we basically said that build things around Tesseract. We know what those limitations are, so your potential solutions could be enhancements to Tesseract as well, right? Because it's open source.
Okay, so I think Saksham wants to clear one more doubt.
That's a cute picture is got out there.
Yes, Saksham.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah. So this question is regarding the OCR application.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've seen a lot of contexts and hackathons, a lot of different startups trying to combat this particular problem. They have
Yeah.
that OCR, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very challenging problem, primarily because of the lack of context you have, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think that you will be able to provide because if we have a targeted context that we could focus on, then the OCR problem becomes a bit more manageable, because just adding layers to your neural networks will provide you some more accuracy, but there's not a lot of benefit. Again, there has to be the manual hand checking that you'll have to do.
Yeah. So you're right, Saksham. See, the thing is, we are not saying that there will be zero manual handshaking, right?
Right, of course.
So what we are saying is that even if you can reduce, let us say, the human interventions by 10%, right, or 20%, can you imagine the value it will give to a company?
Yeah,
right?
even 10% or 20% is an absolute win, I think.
Exactly. That's my point, right? So if we can get even close to that number with whatever you do as a part of the solution, I think that will be awesome, right? So that's exactly what we're looking for. Now, see, there are challenges here, I agree. But what you also need to understand is that even when, let us say, a human eye recognizes things, it recognizes things based on, how its faculties has developed over the years, right? Because if you teach a child something which looks like a cow today, saying that it's a monkey, the child always call it a monkey unless and until it reads something else later. To give you a simplest example. So what it essentially means is that in this world of OCR, there are known domains and then there are unknown domains, which are your outliers, right? So your known domain session essentially will be, let us say, the forms which are out there, which are standard. There are certain templates which are standard for different things and so on and so forth. And then there are these outliers, right? So which are like a combination of things or custom document templates, etc., which come to your, notice. So what I would suggest is focus on the areas where you are basically dealing with forms, things like maybe invoices or, certain, let us say, things like contracts and so on and so forth, right? In that specific area around accounts payables or accounts receivables, try to box your use cases or your workflows around that area and then see what best you can do. Okay.
Sure. So we have one, Mr. Anshuman. He's representing a startup, and he's asking for an existing solution by a startup. Will still the legal agreement follow, or what are the lines of partnership with the startup?
Okay, fantastic question again. This question was from whom? Anshuman, right? Yeah.
Mr. Anshuman.
Yeah. Is Anshuman? Can you speak on the?
Yes, I will unmute him.
Yeah.
1 second. Anshuman, you're unmuted.
Yeah. Hi, Bhavani. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Please go ahead with your question with a little more elaboration. I would like to understand your question better.
So earlier in the presentation, you mentioned that there will be some first right of refusal or whatever the POCs will be for a startup like ours, which is already has an existing solution, users and clients, etc. And we are looking at this competition, since it mentions startups as well, open to startups as well. So what is the caveats here, and how does it help startups in general? Why should we come and participate in this competition?
Okay, that's a great question. So I think Dimple covered that to a fair extent. I think in the presentation, but maybe let me reiterate. What are the things on the table for startups, right? So one of the key things is the solution which you may bring to the table essentially will go through our review process, Anshuman, okay, which essentially will look at all the areas which I mentioned in terms of tick marks, in terms of scores, etc., and then your solution will be scored on that basis. The follow through of that would be is the entire process of the challenge, which means that it has to go through its different stages, and if at all it makes it to the winners category at some point, right? Then we will basically open up conversations with you to figure out how best we can take the relationship we built with you ahead, right? So that could essentially be, we probably positioning your solutions along with some of ours to our potential clients. It could essentially be a discussion to, look at what, maybe investments we can make in your company, or it could be a scenario where we might have conversations with you about an acquisition. So that is all TBD, right? So it is something which will get decided if you make the cut. But the potential primarily, like I said, would be three. Number one is that we can walk with you along with our solutions into a client scenario to see that your solution gets its leverage as a part of that solution because we respect it. Second, like I mentioned, we might look at OEMing it or something on those lines. And the third thing could essentially be an acquisition. So the options are open at this point, Anshuman. So we will have to take this offline, but this is the level of detail I can provide to you right now.
Okay, so there are some repetitive questions which I think we can omit right now, and so we will be sharing the recordings of this webinar with all the participants, so they can always go back to this recording and they can give their answers. So apart from that, anything else is there, Bhavan? You as a closing note, so do you want to?
There's one question which I would like to answer generically because it looks like an open question, and then I'll probably give my final comments, Vijeta. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
There is a question from Percy, which says that will sample data sets or data sets be provided, for which using which they can check their solution. So a couple of comments there, right? Number one, for building out the solution across the 4 challenges, right, we are not going to provide any data sets. It's all up to you to source your data sets and make the case in front of us with whatever data sets you have. You could potentially use real, you could potentially use synthetic. I mean, the call is up to you. We'll do our assessments on the pedigree of the solution you built, right? Second, as far as the checking of the solution is concerned, mind you that as of the terms and conditions, of this particular contest, we will essentially have you on point, to give us a license of use during the course of the context, where if required, we would want to deploy these solutions in-house, and we might test it with our own data sets and so on and so forth. So that is open in terms of you giving us the license to deploy it and we doing it on our own. But we are not going to give you any data sets to validate your solution. We might do that in-house as a part of our assessments and our ranking exercise. Okay?
Sure. So if any participants need any kind of mentoring sessions or the assistance while developing the course, so how can we assist them?
Yeah, so that's a very good question again. So we will certainly provide, mentoring, probably sessions for Q&A, etc., with some of the participants, depending on our schedules. But mind you that there will be certain limitations to that. So we are not going to get down to brass tacks in terms of providing help. But we can certainly get into a Q&A mode. We can look at what solution is being built. Maybe we might give some hints on how to make things better. But yeah, net, no spoon feeding. That's all. Yeah. But like I said earlier, Vijayta, I mean, the team can use me as point and direct all their questions to me, whatever they might have, and then I'll figure out how best to help them.
Yeah, sure. So team, if you're having any questions, do write to me. My email ID is written in the chat window there. It's vijayta@incubatehub.com. So any questions, I will route them to Mr. Bhavani, and he will try to answer them at the earliest. Okay. Again, so Mugdha wants to know, will evaluation also count the innovation in terms of research checkpoints or architect model or core buildings solely?
It will be all of the above. See, there will be a scenario where, let us say, your solution proposals innovation quotient is extremely high, right? But let's say that you probably didn't finish coding that on time if you got selected for the second round. There will be considerations made, right? So there will be certainly considerations made, because we do understand that some of these areas are potentially hard to pull off in the amount of time we are giving. But the reason why we are keeping the time short is to really see how you can isolate the key areas we are looking at you to solve as a part of the challenge, and how you can really focus your energies in that specific area and innovate in that area and not be all over the place. So give it a best shot, and let's see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mr. Bala wants to ask you some question. Bala? You can ask your question, Bala. You're unmuted. Bala? Or else you can type your question also here. I think we are approaching towards the end of the session. So, Bala, are you there? So, till he comes back or he gets a chance to, correct his audio. So, any closing note, Bhavani, you have?
Yeah, I think, there are a couple of things which I wanted to, leave the team with, Vijayta, so that, people don't kind of really get overwhelmed with the challenges. And second is be extremely focused, like the point I was on earlier. Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, team, what I would like you to do is ensure that you understand all the challenges very clearly. Right? Second, figure out which is the sweet spot or the exact problem area you're going to tackle, given the challenge and the verbiage around it. Right? And third is the measures which I told you. What is the value of the solution, right? What is the metrics you would want to show as far as the value of the solution is concerned? Like, for example, I was giving a sense of it to Shashank, I think, on the incremental or the decremental use of humans in OCR, right? 10%, 12%. So when you talk about business value, you should have some of those metrics in mind on prior and after. So have that in mind when you present your solution. And, finally, architecture in terms of it being innovative and disruptive as well all together and being cost effective, I think is extremely important, right? So just focus on these areas, give the sort of high level solution and its proposal the first shot in a very good way, keeping this thing in mind. And, let's take it from there.
Great, Bhavani. So I think Bala is not able to ask any questions. So Bala, not to worry. So if you have any questions, you can send them to me, to vijayta@incubatehub.com. So that's all for the day. We are reaching towards the end of the session. So I would like to thank Bhavani and Dimple for their valuable time and giving insightful information to all the participants. So, and we expect a wonderful participation from all the users. So in great numbers.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Good luck, everyone.
Yeah. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.